Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
It is Friday.
Woo!
Guardians have a perfect season going. I don't want to jinx it.
Yes.
I don't want to jinx it, but look out for 162-0. And who would have thought that after day one it'd be the Guardians and the White Sox? All alone at the top of the division.
Yeah.
Man, what a day yesterday.
Finally let y'all boys play.
Yes.
Manzardo finally is paying dividends.
You know, my wife had a great line about him. She goes, is he a great athlete? And I said, no, that's the beauty of baseball. You don't have to be a great athlete to be a great baseball player. It helps. She goes, he kind of looks like a worker plant guy.
Yeah.
Well,
with the mustache and the whole thing.
So Chris Valleca, the old hitting coach, before I'd ever seen Manzardo, he called him, he said he's like Wade Boggs. And it is exactly like Wade Boggs.
Wow, that's
from the
interesting
mustache to the swing, to the pants to the shoot. Like
that's a call.
It is a throwback to Wade Boggs.
It's the Idaho Wade Boggs.
Yeah.
He has hobbling first base, around first base.
Oh, he's slow, man.
Kirk Gibson
He's
athleticism.
pulled hamstring 24/7.
That will be his only triple all year. And it was the stadium triple. I mean, you get those at
It was
Kauffman
beautiful.
Stadium.
No, don't take it. Was beautiful.
I will not allow you to use the word beautiful in describing that triple.
I thought it was
the right fielder played it as poorly as you can.
Fact. Here,
And it was a stadium triple.
Okay,
it went into the corner and trickled down the wall.
Two things can be true at once.
They can?
Yes.
Okay.
It was
awkward and beautiful together.
Yes.
Okay, explain.
It's like me.
Funny, I've never heard the word beautiful used to describe McNuggets.
No, I don't think anyone ever has. That might be the first and the last.
I was telling a story to someone this week. I can't remember what day it was. And I'd mentioned your name, and I said McNuggets. And as I was continuing the story, the look on the person's face was one of bemusement, confusion.
What's a McNuggets?
And then about 10 seconds later, there was a long pause, and he goes, wait, is his name McNugget? There's really a person named McNugget?
It's a grown man out there.
I got to tell you, so my dad and brother were in town
Papa McNuggets.
2 weeks ago, and we went to the Cavs
Papa
game.
Nugs.
Big Mac.
Yeah. And as we were at the Cavs game, there were a bunch of people who, say
are yelling McNuggets.
Yeah, and my dad goes, they really call you McNuggets.
It's for real.
And I was like, yeah, they do. And I don't know if I'll ever grow out of it. If I'm in Cleveland in this role, I think it will stick with me from the third show we ever did to the end of UCSS. And shout out to Joe Thomas for helping come up with that moniker. But
he nailed it.
It has become a thing that now when I hear McNuggets,
you respond.
Naturally, I assume they're talking to me.
They are. Let me ask you this. This is just a statement, not really a question. It really drives home the infinite wisdom of our elders, in this case, our fathers. On day one of the show, we were calling McNuggets something like pig breath or something. What was it?
No. It was two of them.
Wait, we can't even say it over?
I'll go back and find it.
I'll
know
tell you
what
off
it
the air,
is.
but because
your dad said no.
Yes.
I'm not going to allow that to be your nickname on TV.
It's funny because it's what my college coach used to call me.
Yes.
But my college coach is 6'10", 280. My dad's a big dude.
Was it Piglet? What was it?
It was Piglet.
Okay, Piglet.
And there's a whole.
But think how smart Dad looks now. Because if we hadn't gone away from Piglet and it wasn't for Joe Thomas giving you the moniker,
now people are going to say it. We're not doing that.
Is Pig Breath better? I don't know.
Pig Breath might actually be better.
But could you imagine if you're walking through the Rocket Arena and everybody's yelling?
Yeah, no.
And then for about 5 minutes, it was Tenders. And then we had to pause the Tenders one.
You're right.
We can't do that, man. Because all it takes is him to be out on West 6 drunk one night, and a bunch of dudes just keep calling them
Tenders.
Tenders.
Yeah, not good.
What's up, Tenders?
We're glad McNuggets stuck because now, honestly, you are McNuggets.
Yeah.
No,
you're not Mike.
I like it.
You're just McNuggets.
It plays. It's It's like whimsical. Like it's not the derogatory. It's whimsical. It's funny.
Yeah.
People seem to enjoy it. You know, Gabby's become Miss Nuggets. Like it just has. It
When are you guys gonna have little nuggets?
That's why it's Happy Meals.
Yeah.
Yeah, Happy Meal.
Yeah.
Do they come with a toy? We got to get whoever the delivering OBGYN is. We got to get his name and give him like a little trinket. And when he hands Mike the baby for the first time, he's like, and it comes with a Happy Meal toy.
Little toy.
If I was 8 years old and I treated McDonald's toys like I did when I was 8, because you had to collect them when you were a kid.
Oh, you had a whole
I would drop
shelf
the
full
baby
of
and
them.
take the toy. Like, thank
Yeah,
God I've matured since then slightly, but
Not much.
Yeah, it's fun.
All right.
Speaking of things real quick, it is the night of the comedy show.
Yep.
And we've had some good laughs to start.
Oh,
There are
my
still. I
God.
talked to Hilarities this morning. We have almost sold this joint out.
What does it hold, by the way?
$350.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Because the first one was okay.
Say between 150 and 200.
Yeah. So we've doubled our popularity.
Yes. And
That's fantastic.
They've had requests. We're going to. Have you guys ever seen the League, the fantasy football show?
Oh, yeah. It was
yeah.
a great show.
One of the guys is performing before us. He's the 7 o'clock show.
Which one? Do you know?
Steve, he was married to the woman in the show.
He was the cooler one of all of them, correct?
No,
Is that
he
who
was
Steve was?
He had kind of red hair. Steve.
Oh, yeah, I'm thinking of someone else.
Yeah.
That show was
We put his
great.
name.
I love that
The guy
show.
performed for us. But he's performing for us.
Wow.
We've almost sold out. There are limited, and he said this morning, limited tickets available. So if you don't have a ticket and want to come,
Well, that's always true. No
Limited
matter how many
tickets
tickets, they're limited.
fair enough. But I know how many people have already sent us the receipts that they're coming, people we're bringing. It's going to be a blast.
Is this a
Come out and
separate
support.
ticket needed for the UCSS portion, or
Yeah, it's two totally separate shows.
so the comedian before?
His name's Steve Ranazizzi.
Yeah,
I know that name.
I know the name. I'm
Yeah.
just not
I'll send
sure
you a
which-
picture.
which
You'll
of the guys
recognize
it
it.
was.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So he's the opener.
he'll do the house.
Yes.
Yeah, he's opening for you guys. And then everybody will leave, and then new ticket holders will come in. So you guys essentially have nearly sold this out on your own. Correct?
Slightly.
Yeah, we did. Because this has nothing to do with
With him. Right? It's a separate show altogether.
totally separate show.
Yeah.
I love
I
that.
need you to send me the link again because I never bought a ticket.
I'll send you the link, and I'll send you.
You're able to go, right? But it'll be late? Or
I'm coming in hot.
you're coming in hot.
I'll be there like 9:20, 9:25. Like
That's how
literally.
you roll, though. Really.
That is kind of how I roll.
That's how you roll.
My daughter's cheer banquet is tonight. I got to go to that.
Yeah,
I gotta
you
handle
got to do that. Good
And
luck.
I'll
Good-
get there when
Enjoy
I get
that. Potluck.
I'm gonna be there.
there. Oh yeah.
Potluck.
Yeah, I
gonna
got
be
baked
there.
ziti in the fridge. Got to cook it.
I'm gonna be there early at 9:20, the same time Jason get there.
That's early.
That's early. For
Yeah,
me.
what's 10 minutes early?
It's 10 right there.
Do we want to talk on the show what we discussed pre-show as to why you won't be performing a set?
Oh, listen, I had
Is
to
that
get-
worthy of? Is that
Yeah,
public?
So my family had an intervention with me like last week. I was getting my set ready. You know what I'm saying? They were like, "You're not doing this, are you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm doing it." They got up to the time, and then they had an intervention. I came home, and they was all sitting around the table drinking tea and random coffee, and they drink decaf. I'm like, why would you drink decaf? It don't even taste that good. You
Right.
drink coffee for the buzz. So anyway, they sit around the table. They look at me and say, my wife goes, "We do not believe that you should do any stand-up comedy." I was like, "What are you talking about?" She was like, "We do not want you to be cancellationed."
How did Rosebush get selected to be the mouthpiece of this? Why not moms? Why not?
Because I think she's directly affected the most. Like, at least my mom got Social Security.
Okay, I see.
Kinda. I don't know. A couple more.
She likes
weeks.
your check.
Yeah, they're like, "Hey, we do not want you plan on having way too many controversial statements on stage." And
So
we do
had
not."
they heard your set? Had you practiced on them?
No, they just know the way I talk outside of work.
Yeah, so they. Now, do you think that's fair? Is that a well-founded concern of theirs?
No, not really. I mean, I wasn't gonna say like there's only like 4 cancelable words I could say, and so like I'm not gonna say those words, but they heard that I had 7 Elon Musk jokes and they didn't like it, man.
Oh, so they were more concerned about the political
Yeah,
stuff.
they were like, I had like 7 Elon jokes, but they
you
were
could get
good
those
ones.
off. You
They
could
was,
get
I
those
said I could get those off.
Here's the beauty of comedy, even though I think we had a pullback for a while. I think mostly, now, they can hide behind that's on my calling card. That's what I am. That's what I do.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder if that same rule would apply to folks who don't do that for a living and slide into that role for an evening.
Man, yeah, I don't know.
Because you know what? Right now, somebody sent me a piece yesterday that Tosh Point out. Do you guys remember Tosh?
Yeah.
I loved him.
Yeah.
God, I miss him. Someone sent a funny skit that he did. You guys may remember it, where he impaneled a focus group. And there were 6 people sitting there, and he goes, my whole idea here is to determine if these words are offensive. And if you're offended, raise your hand.
Right.
And so he would say, one of them was like stretch neck. And everybody's looking around like, oh, yeah, that doesn't sound good. Can you use it in a sense? And he's like, yeah, I rolled up to the crew and some stretch neck tried to front me. And then, oh, yeah, that's definitely offensive. He had put random words together to make phrases, none of which were offensive.
Yeah.
All of them were viewed offensive by someone in the focus group. It was hilarious.
Right.
And so it's probably a wise move.
Hey, well, listen, I
Because
told him.
with social media.
That's the thing. That's the thing that kind of.
Yes. If there were no cameras allowed.
Yeah. Because that's why I told you guys. I said, when I retire, I'm going to tell all my stories
In a
comedy set with jokes attached.
I'm coming to that
and
show.
I will be wheeled off like Hannibal Lecter, and I will never be allowed to work again. That will be the end of my career. And I might end up in jail. Definitely divorced.
To put a bow on it, I said, listen, bro, look, if they do try to cancel me, all I have to do is fake a seizure and then pull the race card, and I'm right back.
Yeah, that would probably work. One little suggestion for you. I love that idea. I think a better idea is to form a comedy troupe. So you and Windhorse, and you could the list of names goes on and on. I could think of 10 right now.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And you guys do traveling shows where you tell never before. Here you go, McNuggets.
Never before heard content. Yeah.
In your storytelling manner.
Yeah.
That would be hilarious. And here's why that's fair game. If the athletes are now squealing on the journalists, LeBron claiming that Wendy is running around saying you guys are best friends. Never heard Wendy say that.
Right.
But if suddenly the athletes are allowed to do that to the journalists, then why the hell wouldn't the journalists be allowed to do that to the athletes?
Well, because it's breaking code. But you know what? I know we got to go. Real quick, you just actually triggered an idea. When we first launched The Athletic in Cleveland, we did like a meet and greet with all the subscribers, and you had to be a subscriber to get in, and we did like a Q&A panel. And it was a wild success.
Yeah, people love that.
We should. There's probably not enough time tonight to do that. But if we did
like
a panel,
it would be a separate venue. I think
separate venue. Becker's here. Let's talk with Becker. After
the
show
and you're right. People do love that. It's access.
We talked Cavs and LeBron for probably over an hour.
And that was could have gone longer.
That was in 2017, 2018, 2018, I think. And it could have gone all night.
I know you're rapping. I got to ask this question to Jason because it's been on my mind for a day. What the hell is LeBron doing with this nonsense on McAfee about, I don't know that the draft was legitimate?
We talked
about it yesterday.
Oh, my God.
Listen, I was in the room when Kyrie was drafted.
Right.
It is legitimate.
And of course it's legitimate.
Deloitte & Touche is one of the biggest accounting firms in the country.
They would be that's my point today was going to be they would be bankrupt. And why would they leverage a reputation that took over 100 years to build to send LeBron to Cleveland? It was so stupid.
As many whistleblowers as we have in this world, you think if Deloitte & Touche was in on it, and they would have to be in on it, it would be out. Now, the frozen envelope thing, I have no idea. But the ping pong balls,
that's legit.
I was in the room when they were pulling the ping pong balls out of the machine. Yeah. It is totally legit.
Yeah.
All right, go.
Drove me nuts. Okay.
All right, let's jump into the show. We got a Cavs game, a Guards game, some draft stuff to get into today. It's all brought to us by FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when their first $5 bet wins. That is $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories. You can even pick who's going to cut down the nets. There was some crazy Sweet 16 action last night. If you want to bet on tonight's games or the Elite Eight, you better be using FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and get in on all the college hoops action all tournament long. We start today, though, with the Cleveland Guardians, the undefeated, the 1-0 Cleveland Guardians, and there are two main takeaways that I want to get to from yesterday's game. We'll get to Emmanuel Clase, but we start with Kyle Manzardo. Jay, if he plays like he did yesterday for a large portion of this season, the Guardians lineup's going to look a lot better than it did on paper 48 hours ago.
Well, absolutely, without question. The question is, can he do it?
Yeah.
It's one day. What I loved about it was against lefties. And that's what this lineup needs. It needs a left-handed hitter that can hit left-handed pitching, because it's like having another righty in the lineup. And I think that's one of the things they would love to have, is another power-hitting right-handed hitter in this lineup. Manzardo does not look the part, does he? No. Does not look like he's going to be
Wade Boggs.
He is. He's. I've talked to him before at spring training. I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
My takeaway was, wow, this guy's really unexcitable.
Very quiet, very reserved.
Low key.
Yep.
And that's okay, because our other superstar, although he's physically demonstrative in Hosey, he doesn't say anything either.
Right.
So I think he fits in well with the group. I heard a stat after the game. This is just the third time in Major League history that a player has had a double-triple homer in the season opener.
Oh, wow.
Just the third time. It's the only time that he's done it against someone pitching from the same side, lefty-lefty, And when you look at that, I think that's huge. It is just one game, but his balance at the plate, you mentioned the similarities to Wade Boggs, his balance during his swings, even when he's hitting an off-speed pitch and he's holding his hands back. A lot of players jump. He doesn't jump. His weight is perfectly proportioned, even on curveballs. So he's trained himself over years to, when he recognizes it's a curveball, keep the lower half quiet. Don't lurch. Now you're in a position where you're at a huge disadvantage.
You're throwing your hands at it.
He stays back. He stays balanced all the way through his swing. It's a thing of beauty. And I got to tell you, I'm not projecting he's going to do that every day. There's no way he will. But if this is a slice of the man we're going to see for the rest of the season, I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic.
Well, Bull and I were encouraged yesterday that he was even in the lineup, because Reagans is one of the best lefties in the American League. Skubal obviously is the best. He won the Cy Young last year. Reagans is in that next tier down. So if they're willing to play him, if Stephen Vogt's willing to start him against Reagans, then that tells me he's going to be in the lineup every day.
Yeah, it looks
and he needs to be. Even before, I don't care if you went 0 for 3 or 3 strikeouts. I'd say the same thing. We said about Josh Naylor. You have to learn how to hit lefties. And Naylor eventually did. And Manzardo, if you're going to be an impact player in this league as a left-handed batter, you have to be able to hit lefties.
Super surprised on the home run, because he really wasn't looking like he was out there trying to swing for the fences. Like you said, he had his weight back, and it looked like almost, if you look at it, it looked like he didn't even take much of a long stride. It was a really compact swing, and I was surprised at his level of power. He's not a great athlete, as we talked about. He looks like he's running and his whole body is hurting. But if you're going to get rid of Jimenez and you're going to get rid of Naylor, and you got a guy like Manzardo, now this is where you have to develop guys. You need him and Big Christmas, and you need Lane Thomas, that trade to work out. But if he's going to hit like this, then we don't really have much of an issue with getting rid of people. We like the fact that he can drive in runs. If he's going to be 3 for 4 and all these extra base hits, we will take that every day or twice on Sunday.
Sure. That's a big addition to the lineup. A couple of things. One thing back to what you said, you thought that maybe he wouldn't be in the lineup. It's funny how confidence can be trickled from manager to player.
Absolutely.
Particularly in game one. And I like what you said about the matchup. If I'm dreaming of the perfect matchup for Manzardo, yesterday was not it. In fact, that might have been the scenario that concerned me most. But it's so weird how I remember when I was playing high school baseball, I wanted to be the leadoff hitter in my junior year, but I didn't know if it was going to happen. And my manager, right before the season started, pulled me aside and said, listen, you're ready for this. You can do it. And in a weird way, a calm came over me, because I immediately thought, well, this guy's a baseball lifer. He's seen it all. If he thinks that as a junior, I'm ready to do that in a lineup that had some really good bats behind me, I'm like, okay. I felt empowered, and I felt almost like I had a safety net to fail. Now, who knows what would have happened if I'd have started, 2 for 12 in the first 3 games or whatever. But I felt that, okay, if he believes in me, I believe in myself even more. And I know these guys are grown men, but it can still work that way. In reverse, also, I think Clase is still carrying some hangover from last year. And we're going to talk about him later.
Well, we might as well.
I mean, if you want to get into him
right
now,
into it.
Jason.
I obviously, he didn't do what he was supposed to do. He left some pitches in some bad spots. But one of the things I'm most fascinated to see in the month of April and May, what's up here now for Clase?
So it's funny you say that because I said, like, my reaction yesterday was probably the same as everybody else's. I'm like, well, the clubbies barely got the puke out of his shoes, and now he's vomiting on his feet again. Like,
That's great.
Here we go again.
That's so true.
But I went back this morning and I looked at the StatCast.
Yeah, I watched the inning again.
He actually threw some good pitches.
He did. The ball, the double was 100-mile-an-hour.
6 inches off the plate.
Low.
Then he just turned on it. Do we have it? You can pull up the Pasquantino one.
It was a great piece of hitting.
So I mean, let's look at that. Look at the pitch that he hit. It's 6 inches off the plate inside. Vinny just turned on it and pulled it down the line. Like, he did his job. Like, both guys did their job. You threw a 100-mile-an-hour cutter right there. That's not supposed to end up on the grass.
No, it's not.
Pasquantino's a really good hitter. He did what he's supposed to do. Okay, fine. So now go to the next one, the Salvi Perez.
Yeah, now this was the interesting one.
Well, I thought it was a good pitch.
Well, it was a good pitch, but it had no movement to it.
So it's on the outside edge, and Perez flips it. Now the expected.
It was 100 miles an hour too.
Yeah. Like, it's going to be a hit. When you take launch angle and exit velocity and everything else, it's going to be a hit almost every time. The location wasn't bad. The location's where you want it. Now,
I agree with that, Jay, but quickly, there was no movement to it. And that reminded me of young Clase. When he first got here, I'm like, okay, this guy's special in one way. He throws hard, but there's no movement to his fastball.
But if you bring up the Perez, actually, the first one is the one that Perez should have hit in the water because he missed bad on that.
Yes, he did.
That was middle. Like, that one should wind up banging off the wall or going into the seats. So the reason I want to go back,
if I'm not mistaken, that wasn't 100 miles an hour, but it was a fastball, it was a cutter, right?
Yeah, they're both cutters. Yeah.
Okay, they were both cutters.
But like for last year when he was having his problems, he was missing his spots and he was leaving everything up. And so I went back and pulled the Kerry Carpenter, the Aaron Judge, and the Stanton home runs.
Yeah.
If you have
Which one do you want first?
Carpenter.
Well, Carpenter was a big miss, right?
I mean, Carpenter, you could see it's the sixth pitch, number 6. I mean, it's right in his nitro zone.
Yeah, that's not good.
Now look at the Judge one. The Judge one was on the outside corner, but it was up. It was elevated. And Aaron's too big of a guy. If you throw that there, he's going to, he can drive that out, which is what he did. And then the Stanton one. And everything's up again, up. So when you look at where he was yesterday, where his location was yesterday, it's where he wants to be. The Royals just did it was a good piece of hitting on both of those guys. So I'm actually not as concerned after looking at that as I was watching it live, where it was like, this guy's a mess. He's broken last year. Like, Fausto Carmona was broken by the Red Sox in that playoff series, and he was never the same pitcher again because the Red Sox realized, I can't remember now, was it a slider he couldn't throw for a strike? So if you just spit on that, you're eventually going to get a fastball. Yeah. And it changed his career forever.
Right. Yeah,
and so you wondered about Clase, and I'm like, man, is this going to break him, or is he going to be able to come back from that? And then to get hit yesterday, you think, no, this is not good. But when you go back and you actually watch it, they're not going to be 100% on location and movement. But he was hitting his spots yesterday. So that is encouraging to me. That tells me
it's
pitcher, just a bad day.
As a pitcher, sometimes you could be hitting your location, your spots, and all that, and they just hitting you hard.
Oh, no, that totally happens.
And that messes with your psyche a little bit because you can't say it's my mechanics, or my placement, my velocity.
You start questioning your stuff.
Yeah, right. They're like, now it's one thing for the Yankees to do that. You come back all the whole another year, and now this what's his name? Pasquantino?
No. The guys that hit him yesterday are great hitters.
I know.
They are legit.
But I was
great
like,
hitters.
But that second time he came up when he blew the save, I said, this guy has his number. He coming up here looking to swing. And it looks like it doesn't matter who's going up there right now. They're just hitting the ball hard.
Bull, I will throw this out because it is a debate. Bull questioned after they scored the run, why were they pitching to Salvi?
Right.
There are two distinct schools of thought there. I say before you can even go down that rabbit hole, you absolutely have to ask yourself who's pitching.
Right.
That makes a difference. Depending on the pitcher and their likelihood to throw strikes and to get ground balls and to induce double plays, you have to take into account who's pitching. I didn't hate that they pitched to him there. I didn't. I know Bull said you got to walk them there.
Yeah.
But and Bull even said I don't care if it's the winning run.
Right. You're putting the
That's
winning
why I don't walk.
You're putting the winning run on base.
And I'm not in the business of doing that with nobody out.
Don't you want to show some faith in your guy too a little bit?
Well, here's the problem with that. Normally, yes. But do you really want to open the season with Clase on the mound for a blown save that turns into an L. Yesterday was bad. It wasn't a debacle. The debacle comes if he does walk Salvi and he scores, and that's the ball game. Now your guy has to walk off the field again
just like
before there's
year.
3 outs.
Yeah.
And that's a bad thing to do, especially the way he finished last year.
Right.
So I do think a lot of things, you can take the baseball book in that situation and throw it out the window. You're thinking about the pitcher that you have on the mound, the likelihood that he can get a double play, also the psyche of your pitcher, and what the potential damage is if you do blow that situation. I just don't want. I didn't want to lose it 5-4 with Clase on the hill, and I'm sure Vogt didn't either. Vogt, by the way, after the game was asked about it, he goes, "Look, he gave up a run."
Yeah,
that happens.
Yeah,
when somebody else gives up a run, nobody says anything. But when a guy who gives up a run, who never gives up a run, all of a sudden it's like, oh, he failed. He wasn't concerned at all. And
he's not going to admit if he is.
No, he's not. But like you, I went back and I actually looked at the video again.
Yeah.
I wanted to see the location of the pitches, the speed of the pitches.
Yeah.
The guys hit really good pitches.
Right.
And that's going to happen. And by the way, really good hitters did it. It wasn't like they got dinged by the 6, 7, 8 hitters.
Right.
Good hitters did it.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it is it allowed the Guardians to win in dramatic fashion. 4-3 win would have been nice. 7-4 win was way better, especially how they got it. Now, Gaddis in the 8th got out of a major jam with a lot of luck.
Yep.
And some great defense. Kansas City ran themselves out of that inning. What are you doing?
I don't know what Biggio's the one that screwed that up.
But my God, as the third base coach, you're telling them anything to this side, you're staying put.
Right.
And he was going on contact.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It was bad.
So bottom line on Clase, I'm not as concerned today as I was yesterday.
Good.
It's unfortunate that it happened coming off the heels of a postseason when he wasn't good. Like he wasn't good. I just showed you how badly he was missing his spots against really good hitters. Yesterday was totally separate from that. I thought he did hit his spots, and they just put good swings on it, which good hitters are going to do.
Yeah.
So,
sometimes I get scared because closers are just like field goal kickers. Like, sometimes they can strike it good. It's looking like it's going right down the middle of the nets, and all of a sudden it curves 10 feet to the left or hooks 15 feet to the right. Listen, sometimes there's no rhyme or reason why closers lose it. They run through lineups. They're great all year, and then all of a sudden they hit a stretch where now it seems like they can't get people out. It seems like bloops find little holes. Runners are getting on base. And I just don't want it to get to a point where we talk about this a month into the season where it's like, are we looking kind of at, like, is this an aberration? What are the best days behind them? I'm not being a knee-jerk guy,
The good thing is, if that happens, it's not like the cupboard's bare.
Right.
You've got two other guys on the roster that you could say, okay, let's plug them into the ninth
y'all
inning
been waiting
role.
to get Cade Smith in there.
No, I'm not. I don't know that. I'm not ready for that yet. I got to see a lot more from Clase, but eventually Smith's going to be a lights-out closer in this league, whether it's with the Guardians or someone else.
It'll be here.
I think it will too.
You were waiting to get him in there.
No, I think it will be too.
No, eventually they're just going to.
They have lost control from him. And with Clase, you mentioned that with relievers, all of a sudden one day they wake up and the magic is gone.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting that that's the case with Emmanuel Clase, but we all know, covering this game as long as we have, when it goes, it can go in a hurry. And a lot of it is between the ears, and you just never know what's going to happen and when it's going to suddenly go away. Other things that impressed you, that jumped out at you yesterday about the opener?
Ben Lively getting called on. We haven't talked about that. Being called in last moment. And I guess they made him aware Tanner wasn't feeling well the day before.
Yeah.
And so they told him this is a possibility, but totally out of his routine. Pitchers are creatures of routine, and to have that opening day thrown on you like that, and he gave up the 3-run shot to Pasquantino, and otherwise he did a great job of keeping a pretty decent Royals lineup in check.
Yeah, very good lineup. There were a couple loud outs, shots to the warning track. But hey, those are soft outs in the book. It doesn't matter where they're caught.
Why they be doing Ben Lively like that?
I know. Is it?
Why? I would be pissed off. I'm sorry. Now listen, I held y'all down all last year. I was the best pitcher in the rotation the first half of the season. You get to the postseason, I get it. You got to play your best. Boyd comes in. He doesn't make the playoff roster. And then they're like, okay, opening day comes around, and all of a sudden, you're the first guy that gets the baseball.
I think
I'd be kind of mad.
No,
they went to the end of the line.
They went to the end of the line, but it was. I mean, it's a huge honor. It's a big deal.
It
to
is.
These guys pitch.
He'll now have on his resume that he was an opening day starter.
I think part of this was a reward for last year for keeping him off the roster.
Because they could have skipped. They could have just gone to 2.
They could have.
But
this keeps everyone else lined up.
It does, but I wonder if in doing this, Vogt feels that Bybee's not going to be ready tomorrow. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that they have any more information.
That's what I wanted to ask you guys real quick before we put a bow on the Guardians. We don't know who's pitching tomorrow or Sunday yet for Cleveland.
Right.
At this point, and obviously a lot can change. It's 11:30 a.m. on Friday.
If he was sick on Thursday, if it's just food poisoning, he should be fine by Saturday.
Should be, yes.
If he's
but
not,
I was told it was a few days. So it wasn't just yesterday.
Yeah.
It was a couple of days. Now, is that 2? Is that 3? I don't know. But typically, we've all had food poisoning. If that's what it is, and let's hope that's what it is, by the way, if that's all it is, then yeah, by tomorrow he should be strong enough to go. Now,
there's fluids. He's a smaller guy. What if he's dehydrated?
Dehydrated, you get some IVs. But the other thing is, we know, we've all been there, it saps the life out of you.
Yeah, it does. It takes the energy.
And if Steven doesn't think that he's at 100%, there's no harm in holding him to Sunday.
Right.
It doesn't hurt at all to hold him until Sunday. Other things that jumped out to me, I like Stephen Kwan. Don't like Hosey in the 2-hole. From nothing I saw yesterday, I just want him with more RBI opportunities. And I also don't like it because Hosey, although he'll never come out and say, I don't want to do this, he's made comments in his career before about not loving hitting in the 2-hole. So I just want to put my best player where he's most comfortable and he can do the most damage.
Yeah.
And to get an extra at-bat every 5 games, to me, doesn't warrant moving the pillar of your lineup. I don't think it does. And time will tell. We'll know. Here's the thing. I threw this out to the guys upstairs in sports. The reason we may not know in April or May is because Hosey is a traditionally slow starter.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do if in April he's hitting 211? Well, okay.
Yeah.
That's what he does in April. Not that low, but he starts slowly. I don't know how much we're going to learn from it if he just does it for a month or 2. You might be stuck with this for at least till the All-Star break before you get a large enough sample size to see if he's still knocking in runs at the same pace as he was when he was in the 3-hole.
I think it also, if someone else emerges, I mentioned Rocchio again yesterday.
Yeah.
If somebody else emerges who slots into that 2 spot nicely, who it makes sense, you can always drop him back down to 3.
Yeah, I kind of hope that happens. I know it's early, but all right.
We'll talk some more guards coming up here in a bit, but first, we got to talk about the Cavs win last night. If you guys aren't following the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show on social media, we are at Cle Sports on Twitter and Instagram. You also have a TikTok account now at Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, or Ultimate Cle Sports Show, excuse me. So if you want extra UCSS content that is not part of the daily 11 to 1 o'clock show, make sure you're following us on all the social channels to get that extra content at the ease and convenience of your cell phone. Guys, the Cavs beat the Spurs last night. They've now won 3 in a row after losing 4 straight. And in the fourth quarter, it was all Jarrett Allen. He dominated the fourth quarter. Tristan Thompson got ejected. Allen took over, and Donovan Mitchell scored 25 points and had 14 assists in the win there. Jason, after the game, the big talk was Jarrett Allen coming through in the clutch. San Antonio was not playing a big. They were trying to play 5 out, and the Cavs took advantage of their weakness without having a big down low. And we've talked about Jarrett and his versatility. Some nights you need him to score, some nights you don't. Last night was a reminder that, sure, he may be the Cavs' 5th option on offense, but when push comes to shove in certain matchups, he certainly can deliver.
Jared's temperament and personality will be a big benefit to this team because he could sit the last 6 minutes of the game and he's not going to pout. He's not going to have a poor attitude about it because there's going to be playoff games where he doesn't play. He's not part of the closing lineup. And there'll be other nights like what you saw last night where he is. And it takes a lot of these guys have a lot of ego and a lot of pride, and when you're making the type of money that he's making and when you've got the resume that he has, sometimes it doesn't sit well with guys when they're not part of the closing lineup. But I don't think that's a concern at all with Jarrett. I think he fits this team perfectly in terms of his mentality and team mentality and that sort of thing. And we've said it 100 times. He can be productive without ever running a play for him. You never have to run a play for Jarrett Allen, and he's going to have double-doubles more times than not. He's going to get his 16, 18 points, it's 10, 12 rebounds. It's some nights 18, 20 rebounds. He just sort of fits right in. So it's a great situation to be in. They can play so many different styles. They're flexible now with their rotations. And Jarrett's a big piece to what they can do on the defensive end. He's great in pick and roll. He's great as the roll man on lobs, on pocket passes, finishes, any of that stuff. And there's going to be nights where he doesn't play at all the last 6, 7, 8 minutes, and that's okay too.
I like the energy. The energy on a two-hand dunk is what I want to see at all times. To me, it is more than just the points. It's more than the rebounds. It's the physical nature of it. It's the demeanor. And that's the type of demeanor that the Cavs have to have the intelligence about. When you are playing a team and you watch what the Spurs were doing down the stretch, they was playing small guys, and instead of the opportunities that you see where Darius Garland may, pull up with a tough three, or they may swing the ball around the perimeter, or Donovan Mitchell has a step back, what they started to realize is, okay, well, let's get it inside and let's see what Jarrett Allen can do. I thought DeAndre Hunter did a really good job of getting him the ball on some of those quick little floaters on the left-hand baseline. And to me, the Cavs are going to be dangerous, and they are the most dangerous when their bigs are active in the offensive game, whether that is on the glass, whether that's high-low action with Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen, or whether that is we're throwing lobs because he's the roll guy. He's rolling and looking to score. Not rolling look to pass, rolling to score. And Jarrett Allen is a guy who is a person who, if you get him active on offense, and he's getting the ball and getting touches and finishing, his defense kicks up, his energy kicks up, he's more involved. So to me, this was a great game for Jarrett Allen, and this is what Kenny Atkinson should be telling his people all the time, Jay. Hey, look, these guys are going to play defense. Sometimes we're going to get beat on the perimeter, and that's tough as a big to always have to cover, and you go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 trips down the court and don't get the basketball, your energy kind of goes down. It's human nature. But if he's able to do that, you can see that it opens up another dynamic where you're not counting on step-back threes to get your offense going. Now everything looks a little bit more open.
Yeah, I agree with all that. It was interesting that as they let the game sort of slip away, they after the terrible 8-0 run they gave up to start the game, they went on a huge run of their own.
Yep, it was like 16.
And they were up double digits, good double digits, and it was interesting how they just sort of said, okay, no, now we're going to dial in, and this is what's going to happen. I thought two things last night. I thought Donovan Mitchell's distribution of the basketball was next level. He was making one incredible pass after another, finding the open guy, whether it was on the perimeter or cutting to the basket. He was really doing a good job. But what was interesting to me was they let San Antonio back in the game, and then I thought, okay, someone's going to have to be the hero. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Garland? Is it going to be Mitchell? And it wasn't either one, although Mitchell had a good fourth quarter too, and Donovan made some play, or Darius made some plays. It was Jarrett Allen who basically said, no, I got this. I'll put the team on my back in this fourth quarter and will us to victory. And it was nice to see that in a close and late game, because I think with 3 minutes to go, were they down a point? Or
it was like a tie game with 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it was right there in the balance. And the Cavs just said, okay, enough of this nonsense. Let's pull away. They almost won by double digits. I think it was 124, 112, or 122, 114, something like that. And so when they needed to, they reached down, they found it, they pulled away. And I love your point about the temperament, Jason, because it really does speak to the construction of this team. And I don't mean the talent. I mean the personalities. Can you imagine a championship caliber team in the modern era of the NBA that had this kind of temperament? They must be a joy to coach.
Yeah.
Because you've got no powders, you've got no divas, you've got no babies. Everybody.
It's very unique.
They all, if you dig up, I did a research project yesterday. I went back and I found all of their kindergarten grade cards, all of them. It wasn't easy to do because some of these guys went to school far away. They all had the box checked, works well with others.
Yeah.
Remember that box on our kindergarten grade card?
Yeah.
Works well with others. When they built this team, it's astonishing to me how not only did they get the right blend of talent, that's hard enough. They got the right blend of personalities. Will that lead to a title this year? I don't know, but I'd rather have those personalities than any other in pro sports.
It's wild when I think back the teams that I covered and the big, huge personalities
and beats
and divas on that team, and they made it all work. And Ty did a terrific job of conducting the trains and keeping all the trains on time.
Yeah,
but this is such a different team. There is no comparison between the two.
You think the organization learned from that and said, God, we really got to get the personality piece of it right, because we never want that part of it again?
You can't avoid that. Like, this is so rare.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
No, it doesn't happen. I think personality matters. Yeah, like they look at that stuff. I think some of this happened organically, and really, like with most things, with most teams, it's follow the leader. Whatever the leader does, it's going to have a trickle-down effect on the rest of the locker room. And we all know who the leader was of the last run of this, and Donovan has a completely different temperament.
Right.
So in there, everyone else is going to fall in line. And that's not to say, if the number one guy was a little bit more boisterous and a little bit more divish, then some of those tendencies would probably come out in the others. Yeah. But when the top guy is just sort of quiet and chill, well, that's going to trickle down too.
It helps. Mike's got a great stat.
I have a crazy Jarrett Allen stat for you guys.
All right.
So Jarrett Allen is at best the fifth offensive option for the Cavs. Maybe 6 or 7.
I would say 6 or 7.
Wow.
The way you structure how many looks you're giving to Ty and Max Strus. They don't run plays for Jarrett Allen. So whatever, 5, 6, 7, however you want to order it. Think of the luxury a team has when their 5th, 6th, or 7th option, according to ESPN tracking data, is the single most efficient pick-and-roll screener in the NBA. You ready for these numbers?
Wow.
28.6% of Allen's possessions come off being the screener in a pick-and-roll situation. That's not a crazy number, but 28.6% of his possessions. On those possessions, Jason, you'll appreciate this number, he averages 1.28 points per possession.
Yeah.
That is stupid.
Yeah.
He shoots
so they're
66.
scoring, what, 60%, 65% off of that?
He shoots 66.7% from the floor on those pick-and-roll screener opportunities. And when he's not making shots, he's getting fouled 16.9%.
Well, what does he shoot for? Isn't it like 70%?
He shoots 70, but a lot of those are dump-offs and just easy dunks. So in those roll situations where he's on the move, he's still shooting
a high percentage.
67, just under percent from the floor. Your 5th, 6th, 7th option offensively is arguably the most effective screener in pick-and-roll situations in basketball. It is an incredible luxury for the Cavs to have. And Jarrett Allen, he's not going to make All-NBA. He wasn't an All-Star this year. But, my God, that dude does all the little dirty things you need to win at a high level. And the Cavs are lucky to have Jarrett Allen.
Yesterday, Mike Polk ran a piece on our 5 o'clock show upstairs at Channel 3. It was just a commentary where he was basically saying, he said this line like 8 times in the piece, Jarrett, sit down. And so his thesis was, we get it. You're tough.
Oh, that's why he texted me about that. And I was like, why are you asking me about the Cavs?
Oh, it was a great piece.
I gotta go
if
look.
You get a chance, take a look at it.
Real quick on that, Jared did not wear his wrist wrap yesterday for the first time.
Really?
He says, we asked him afterwards, he said, my hand feels great now. It feels a lot better. I'm
good.
Back to where I need to be at. So he acknowledged the fact it was bothering him.
Yeah.
But he played through
That's
it and time healed it. So
yeah, the piece, and I definitely encourage everybody to go check it out. You can see it on WKYC.com. It's Mike Polk's from yesterday. It's 3 minutes long, easy watch. He basically kept saying, okay, we get it. You were labeled soft last year because when you were day-to-day, you missed the rest of the season.
Right.
And we get it that you're tough, but please, sit down. And basically the whole point was Donovan's sitting, Darius is sitting, Evan's sitting. Load management has become the buzz phrase in the NBA.
Yeah.
You don't need to play 82 games. We get it. You're tough. We were wrong. And I just thought it was interesting that on the night Mike says that, and the night Evan Mobley is sitting, Jarrett Allen becomes the offensive linchpin in a fourth quarter comeback and a nice victory. So I don't know that it's important to anybody but Jarrett that he plays 82 games. It's clearly something that he has set out to do. I hope he does it. I hope he can do it. I also hope that at no point during the playoffs we look at him and say he looks tired. He looks tired.
The moniker does not get stripped away until the playoffs come.
Well, you make your reputation in the playoffs.
That's the only. Listen, and good for him. He's trying to prove. Sometimes you got to prove something to yourself before you prove it to other people.
Yeah.
He doesn't like the way. He doesn't like the amount of and for any big dude. Heck, I'm bigger than regular people in regular life. No one wants to be called soft. No one wants to be called a pushover or anything like that. You only can rectify that at the highest level against really teams that are going to try to bully you. So this is great. I'm interested to see how he handles himself against the big times.
Can't get here soon enough.
That's true.
Please, I know. This schedule that they've been given is a joke. Just a joke.
So, to play
you got to go out west for 5 games home, in 8 days.
Then fly to Detroit for a game tonight, and then back home for LA for an afternoon Sunday game.
What is that?
It's crazy. Kenny was not happy in the locker room.
And he shouldn't be. It's a joke. I don't understand the trip to Detroit.
Well, even
that's
on the
the
West
only
Coast,
time that made sense.
On the West Coast, they went from Utah then to Portland.
I know.
That's ridiculous.
Let's go further
ridiculous.
west.
All right, guys, we got to get one more topic in before our guest joins us today. This next topic is brought to us by Monarch Money. Have you ever checked your bank account and wondered, where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center where you can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food, and now I'm able to budget smarter and save more than ever. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use promo code LOCKEDONNFL at Monarch Money for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. So this was a clip from ESPN Radio that happened on Wednesday. And Jason in the group chat immediately texted me about it. And this is something that Jay and Jason discussed after last Friday's show briefly, so I figured it was perfect to bring back today. But the question at hand is, if the Browns draft Shedeur Sanders and he wins a Super Bowl here in Cleveland, would that be bigger than LeBron's title in 2016? Here's what ESPN Radio said, and then we'll discuss whether or not we think they're right. Steve, let's hear it.
I think if you say to Shedeur, you can win.
If he won in Cleveland, I mean.
If you win in Cleveland versus win with the Giants, I think it's bigger winning in Cleveland. They've never seen it. We've seen it many times. We're sitting next to a guy who's done it.
And that is a passionate fan base.
It's the number one. The number one in terms of passion for their team, there's nothing greater than Cleveland.
If you're the first quarterback to deliver a Super Bowl to that franchise.
Bigger than LeBron.
Bigger than LeBron.
They love football more than basketball.
But that's a hometown guy.
They would trade the Cavs championship right now for Shedeur winning the title.
I think they would.
You know why they would? To their credit, and then we got to break. You know why they would? Because of what Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley and company are doing right now. They see, we can build this thing back. We can get to the places LeBron got to. They've never seen something getting to the places that every other team seemingly in the NFL has gotten to except them.
So it's really easy to say they would trade a Cavs championship for a Browns championship right now after you already ate the steak, drank the champagne, and celebrated the parade. Nobody here ate for 52 years. So it's not a fair comparison. Yes, okay, football can be bigger here than basketball. Fine, yes, you can be a bigger Browns fan than Cavs fan, whatever. That doesn't change that what LeBron did was historic. Like that, when you write the history of Cleveland sports, that is chapter 1. And I don't say that lightly because of Jim Brown and Jesse Owens. We have an incredible history of sports here and people tied to sports in Cleveland. And yeah, of course the Browns winning a Super Bowl would be unbelievable and huge and massive and all that. LeBron was born here. He grew up here. He's one of the greatest to ever play the game. He is a world-renowned, worldwide celebrity. Like this is not even a sane conversation to have. If a quarterback came here and won a Super Bowl, of course he'd be hailed and cheered. Yes, it would be huge and massive. Yes. What LeBron did in leaving here and then coming back with the sole intent, like he chose Cleveland and said, I have to fix this. I talked to Pat Riley about it, and Pat said, I knew he would have to go back and clean up what he left because that's home. And I mean, Pat didn't think he was going to do it in just 4 years. He thought he was going to have more time with Miami. But everyone in Miami always knew he was going to have to go home and fix this. And he did. And he came home and said, I am here to win a championship. And he delivered something nobody else could do in 52 years. And he did it against a team that went 73-9. And he did it by coming back, being the only team to ever come back from a 3-1 deficit. What are we talking about here? This is the greatest sports accomplishment in Cleveland history. It won't be topped even by a Browns Super Bowl, which, by the way, They don't look anywhere near. They can't even get their shoes on the right feet right now. You think they're anywhere close to winning the Super Bowl? LeBron has built a school. He has fed underprivileged children. Like, those kids walk into that school every day and they get a hot breakfast because a lot of them aren't eating at home. And you can talk to teachers all over the area about the hardest thing to do is get these kids fed because they don't eat at home. He set up programs for the parents to get their GEDs. He created a foundation, brought underprivileged kids in, and set up the parents to be able to get their GED to give their kids a better life. He's worked to get scholarships for these kids. And you think a quarterback coming here and delivering a Super Bowl is bigger than that? No, you're lost in the sauce on this one because what LeBron has done transcends sports. This is not even a debate. I hate when people say stuff like this because it's not even an apples to apples comparison. Nothing will ever top what LeBron did by coming back here and winning the championship in 2016.
I get to be the voice of the insane then.
Go ahead.
Because you made a lot of good points, salient points, but I will say this. Half of your argument was about LeBron's legacy, like the school and what he's meant and all of that. All on point. Fans don't care about that.
It's all part of who he is.
It is, but we're not arguing would Shedeur be bigger than LeBron.
Yeah, we are. That's what he just said.
No, I'm not. If that's what
that's
we're saying,
what he said.
No, what he said was would a title delivered by Shedeur
he said
be bigger
Shedeur
than a title delivered by LeBron?
He said Shedeur would be bigger than LeBron, right? That's what he said.
No, that's not the way I heard it, Mike. Maybe I misunderstood it. What I heard what they were arguing was would a Browns Super Bowl delivered by Shedeur be bigger than the Cavs championship?
Do you want to hear it again?
Yeah, let's hear it again because maybe I just was hearing what I wanted to hear. And if that's the case, I'll apologize.
I think if you say to Shedeur, you can win.
If he won in Cleveland, I mean.
If you win in Cleveland versus win with the Giants, I think it's bigger winning in Cleveland. They've never seen it. We've seen it many times. We're sitting next to a guy who's done it.
And that is a passionate fan base.
It's the number one. The number one in terms of passion for their team, there's nothing greater than Cleveland.
If you're the first quarterback to deliver a Super Bowl to that franchise.
Bigger than LeBron.
Bigger than LeBron.
They love football more than basketball.
But that's a hometown guy.
They would trade the Cavs championship right now for Shedeur winning the title.
I think they would.
You know why they would? To their credit, and then we got to break. You know why they would? Because of what Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley and company are doing right now. They see, we can build this thing back. We can get to the places LeBron got to. They've never seen something getting to the places that every other team seemingly in the NFL has gotten to except them.
Okay, so I think everybody's right. There were three arguments going on there in one debate topic. It started, would it be big? It sounded like, I didn't hear the setup from the moderator. It sounded to me like they were going to discuss, would it be bigger for Shedeur to win in Cleveland or New York? Because the first comment we heard was, it'd be bigger if he won with the Browns than the Giants because we've won here in New York.
I agree with that.
So then he kind of took it to, you're right, Shedeur would be bigger than LeBron.
That's insane.
But that part is insane. I would never, ever, ever go that far. Ever. No. If we're just talking legacy, LeBron is it.
That's the part that made my head.
Yeah, well, I'm with you on that.
Here's
Here's what I heard. Here's what I thought we were going to discuss. And maybe I read the setup in the notes wrong. What I thought we were going to discuss was, would a Shedeur Sanders championship, Super Bowl win, be bigger in Cleveland than the LeBron-led championship was for the Cavs?
I don't know how you...
And I say it would be.
I mean, I don't know how... Where is the scale that weighs the two? Because what I saw in 2016... Mike, you got the footage? What I saw in 2016... I don't know how you top this.
Do you know what a Browns parade would look like?
Well, yeah, it would be 48 below in the middle of February.
And they'd still be there.
And I had all the stories of people who flew in from around the world because they wanted to be present.
Sure.
And they wanted to be part of this.
Who doesn't want to be in Cleveland in June?
How can you, but how do you get bigger than that? Yes, okay, people are going to come in from around the world for a Browns 1-2. That doesn't mean it's bigger than this.
Well,
52 years, 3-1 deficit, 73-9. Yeah. You don't get bigger than that. Can you match it?
Yes,
sure.
I think you can get bigger, and here's how. Now, the data may have changed. I doubt it has. I used to see it every year. The last time I saw the data, it was a survey that was what percentage of, and this is kind of hard too because, like you say, how do you measure that?
Right.
But it's self-measurement. The question that I'm referring to was asked of Cleveland sports fans, do you consider yourself a diehard Browns fan, a diehard Guardians fan, a diehard Cavs fan? Now, you could answer yes to all three. But the number of people that said they were diehard Browns fans,
of course,
was
and I don't disagree with that.
34 points higher than those who said they were diehard Cavs fans.
Browns are bigger. I don't disagree with that at all.
And Jason, for me, That's why, and now I'll throw some things on there to make my case. I know it's been 52 years between championship drinks of champagne. It's been longer for the Browns. It's been not just that we haven't won, it's that we've been the laughingstock of the league for 3 decades.
Yeah.
We went away. We lost our team. They came back. They sucked. We wrecked a quarterback's career. We went 0-16. We went 1-15. It's been such a train wreck that I believe that if you're just measuring not player legacy, because I don't care, Shedeur would have to win 3
I don't
to
care who
even
the quarterback
approach
is.
LeBron's legacy here. But if you're going to compare what it means to the city, the euphoria that we would see, I just happen to think, and I think we should put this up for a poll somewhere, would a Browns Super Bowl, forget Shedeur, I don't even.
But that's the thing that made me just lose my mind. Was
that makes me lose my mind,
you're
too.
trying to compare
Yeah.
a quarterback who was sent here, who didn't choose to come here. LeBron chose to come back.
Yes.
You choose a quarterback who was sent here,
Yeah.
who would deliver greatness. No one is questioning
And by
how
the way,
beloved he would be.
part of your own argument is you said this team is light years away from winning.
Yeah.
That's why, because the hypothetical was that it happens, not
Well,
that how does it happen or
and,
can it
and
happen.
LeBron came back to a team that had made the playoffs since he left.
But as long as you've got LeBron, you've got a team. And there was Kyrie sitting there too.
Kyrie was there, and LeBron. When Lee Jenkins' story dropped of "I'm coming home,"
Yeah.
LeBron called Kevin that day as soon as the story dropped,
And boom.
and said, "I want you with me." Kevin pulled off on the side of the road. He was driving to work out. He was in LA. He was going to the gym to work out. He couldn't believe LeBron was calling him. He literally, I had a conversation with him about this. He pulled off on the side of the road and took LeBron's call and said, "I'm in." That fast.
Yeah, that's the power
How
of LeBron.
many people
Yeah.
have that type of power? Because the Cavs have been trying to get Kevin Love, and Kevin Love said, "I want no part
Why
of
would he?
Cleveland."
Why would he want to come to play in
One
Cleveland?
phone call, 30 seconds later,
Yeah.
Kevin said, "I'm in."
Power of LeBron.
The power of LeBron to have an entire region where you grew up, love you and adore you, and then hate you,
Yeah.
and then love you,
And then hate you again.
And then there's a fraction. Then
Sure, there's always going to be that.
They're idiots.
The legacy part is safe.
I just think, it's cool now. I don't know why it's cool now to kind of like act like LeBron's legacy ain't what it is. I think it's cool now that people want to take shots at him. But this is a fact. I'm going to just keep it a buck. I know about 10 people that is rich today because of LeBron.
More than 10.
Jason Lloyd is a household name. Jay Crawford and First Take made boatloads of money. Stephen A, Skip, you might as well back the Brinks truck up for them dudes. They were like, listen, they got the best deal. Them deals that they was giving out back then don't exist. That's how cold they was.
In fairness, Stephen A just got 20 for $100 million.
And he's still cashing in.
And you know what? LeBron is still helping him out.
He's still helping him. You look at Joe Varden, Chris Haynes. I keep going. Brian Windhurst. These dudes got checks. He the first dude that they said, "Hey, you want to move your family just to go cover that man?" And they offered to this. See, Dave McMenamin. These are household names because of him. It's not debatable. I tried to cash in late. They said no. We're not giving you that no more. He's done. You gotta go. You better go the other way. You better get on some other train. But I'm gonna tell you what. The fact that LeBron James. The fact that man came back from 3-1 against the greatest team to ever put gym shoes on, and he did it by himself. This is the reason why LeBron James today is trolling everybody. Because guess what? They openly, people back in the day, the media used to say, we're not gonna get on MJ. I see stuff in the annals where somebody said this. Michael Jordan, when he had his first child, he was not technically married. And Michael Jordan, they were going to write, hey, Michael Jordan, back then you had kids out of wedlock, that was a thing.
Oh, yeah.
They went to them, he said, I need you to not print that, dog. Michael Wilbon, I love you to death. But y'all had the cape on for Mike. LeBron James is being a troll today because we are having conversations like this. Shedeur Sanders ain't even here yet. And you saying that you would trade the only championships that we've ever seen, the only times where we were on national TV. Mind you, I grew up in an era where everything in Cleveland was blacked out. You couldn't even watch the Browns half the time. The Indians was losing 100 games a year with Brooke Jacoby. and Corey Snyder and Felix Fermin losing 100 games, and we get LeBron, the dude that was born here, a dude that they said it was going to be that great, a dude. Listen, you can look at the difference. Amani Bates was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and he's in the D League.
Yeah.
LeBron James was on the cover of Sports Illustrated and just woke up and was like, I'm the best player ever, arguably. There's only one guy or two guys you can say. Now, when you talk about delivering that and being from here and all the stuff he did in the community and what he's done and won championships in 3 different cities, he's the all-time leading scorer. It is blasphemous. It is crazy. It is diminishing that what that man has done to say a rookie who has never played winning a championship for the Browns is bigger. That's wild work, and nobody in Cleveland should subscribe to that.
So let me ask you this question. Because you're taking that argument as Shedeur versus LeBron. I'm not making that argument. I could never make that argument. Would a Browns championship? And you could throw Shedeur in there because he's Deion's kid and he's on the hook, perhaps. Mm-hmm. But would a Browns championship in Cleveland surpass the NBA championship that LeBron delivered in 2016?
LeBron James would tell you, yeah.
Of course he would.
He'd be like, yeah,
because it's
football.
The Browns.
It's football. It's
in a football town.
It's the Browns. Like that's just that's unequivocal.
And that's the argument I'm making.
Yeah, okay, that's
what I thought the topic was. Would a Super Bowl delivered by Shedeur be bigger than the NBA championship delivered by LeBron?
Yes, football is king here. No one's going to argue that. But we've seen the play now. We've seen the parade.
Yeah.
You're going to have another parade. All right, cool. Have your parade. You already did that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No parade's ever going to beat a basketball parade because of the time of year.
But that's sort of what I'm saying is like, Cleveland had no idea how to throw a parade. That parade took 6.5 hours because they couldn't even put barricades up.
It was a debacle.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
But like nobody, it was like the whole, what do I do with my hand? Nobody knew how to act. Nobody knew what to do.
Right.
No one had ever experienced that before. Now if the Browns do
how
it.
slow do we drive?
Now if the Browns do it or if the Guardians do it, which they almost did 6 months later. But like, hey, you got the blueprint now, and now you know how to do it. That's why there is something special and romantic about what that team did that will never be topped.
That's why, for me, that's why I would describe it as different. Because for me, it was the first time I got to experience it. So nothing obviously can ever be the same as that. But could it be bigger? Yeah, I think you win a Super Bowl in Cleveland. The sad thing about it to me is that the parade would have to be February 10th. That's no fun.
Yeah.
That's just no fun. Yeah. That day, the weather day that we got, that was
perfect.
I mean, that was one of the quintessential days in Cleveland sports history.
Without
Forever.
a doubt. Speaking of Shedeur, we're going to bring in a guest here in a second who has studied Shedeur and has some takes on Shedeur. So we're going to bring in Damian Parsons here in 1 second. But first, March Madness is here, guys. FanDuel giving you a chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can bet $200 in bonus bets. And if it wins, if you win, you get $200 in bonus bets. I read that wrong. First time I did that wrong. We're going to start over. March Madness is here, guys. FanDuel giving you a chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. That is $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories. You can even pick who's going to cut down the net. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. FanDuel, proud sponsor of UCSS. I promise to get their reads right. And with that, we're going to welcome in Damian Parsons, one of the co-hosts of the Locked On NFL Draft coverage, also a contributor for Bleacher Report. How you doing today, Damian?
I'm doing good. Anytime you guys bring me on, I'm always happy to do it.
Okay, who we drafting?
Get right to it.
I'm not even messing around with the pleasantries.
Quickly.
It is obviously great to have you on. But who in the hell are we taking?
I think when you look at the veteran quarterback market right now, Russ, Jameis off the board, unless they're, happy about Kirk Cousins at this stage of his career, I think it should be Shedeur Sanders. I think you go ahead and right the ship and reset this clock with a young quarterback to lead this franchise. You have a good defense. You just paid Myles Garrett. Yes, is Abdul Carter enticing? 100%. But you don't have a quarterback. And you're going to get rid of Deshaun Watson to really bring in the 5-star recruit. I only have a first-round grade on Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. Everybody else is day 2 grades for me.
Wow. Oh, you're talking about the quarterbacks?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, okay. Interesting. What do you think about Cam Ward? I mean, his grade is
Cam
higher.
my QB1.
Yeah, he's QB1.
Yeah, he's my QB1.
Okay, let me ask you this though: in an other draft, let's just say it was last year, and I know it's not, but that's a big hypothetical. But 6 went in the top 12, and the second best ended up being taken at 12. I mean, obviously, no one saw that coming.
No.
Are you concerned that even though he's got the second best grade, it's like being the second prettiest girl at an ugly school prom, isn't it?
A little bit. A little bit. It's definitely a different class for sure. I think this situation is more. Last year with Bo Nix, we're going to see how he looks year 2. He fell to the right situation, right? Following to Sean Payton. Sean Payton being one of those coaches that doesn't mind changing what he does to fit the players that he has, and he did a great job with Bo Nix. Now, can they replicate that in year 2? We'll see. And everything else is kind of, Caleb was the top guy. He struggled last year, in Chicago. Very similar to Justin Fields. I think with Cam and Shedeur, for teams that need quarterback, I know that the Giants are sitting there. The Giants are sitting patiently behind you guys and wondering what you guys are going to do, because that's going to dictate where their franchise goes. If you guys go Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, the Giants are probably going to run that card up immediately and take Shedeur, even though they brought in Russ and Jameis Winston. I think if you are in a position to, because a lot of people right now are like, okay, next year's class is, they're thinking about Arch Manning. I hate to burst a lot of people's bubbles. From what I've heard and read, yeah, it's not a guarantee he's even coming out next year.
Right.
The Mannings kind of want him to sit, to play the next 2 years, like Eli and like Peyton did, so he could be fully developed or as close to his full development before he hits the NFL. So next year's, the 2026 quarterback class is a crapshoot right now. You don't know who's going to be at the top. We don't know what's going to happen. I think if you're in position for a quarterback, go get your guy now. And I think Kevin Stefanski and his offense will fit Shedeur Sanders. It will fit either one of those guys, but at 2, you're probably getting Shedeur. I think it fits it well.
I think what you just described was the Browns getting tricked out of their position. I've never understood this right here. When I watch the media and the national people, it's a reach for Shedeur. This class is bad. If you ask them how many times you've seen him play, not very many. Did you watch any tape? Nope. I'm just going by whatever the guy said. And so you come away thinking man, okay, well, maybe this guy ain't good at all. But then the very next breath, they tell you it's a reach for the Browns at 2. But if he slips to the Giants, it's a no-brainer. What logic is this? They're going to run up there with the card and Mel and Todd and say, they got their quarterback. It's a quarterback-driven league, and we sitting there.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they got it right.
What I'm saying is, I don't know how your evaluation, it can go from one to the other in one pick. Either you like the guy or you don't like the guy.
Did the Browns suck?
Yes.
Did the Giants suck?
Yes.
There's multiple ways to suck.
Yeah, there is. And what is the quickest way not to suck, my good man?
Get a quarterback.
Get you a quarterback. He's standing right there.
What's the quickest way to ensure that you continue to suck?
Well, if you miss on a quarterback.
Okay.
Well, there you go.
This seminar on... No, I'm not going to say it.
Right.
I'm not going to say
saved yourself.
I saved myself from the worst pause in show history.
Yeah, listen, real crazy. But my thing is this. You look at it, and I like Abdul Carter. I do. Listen, I used to former defensive end. I like Abdul Carter. All right, so what would be a reason that you would take Abdul Carter over the quarterback?
That you have yourself, you've settled yourself in with a veteran that you feel could still lead you in this division. At the end of the day, I remember a couple drafts ago when the Pittsburgh Steelers drafted Kenny Pickett. Mm-hmm. I was vehemently against that pick because I'm like, hey, you are in the division with Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. Deshaun was just coming into Cleveland, and I'm like, okay, is this a guy that you really feel is going to help you compete against these type of dogs in the same division? I remember talking to scouts, and they're like, listen, you draft to win your division. That's number one first, unless you're like a Buffalo and you're drafting to beat Pat Mahomes. That's what you're truly drafting for if you're Buffalo, because you have the AFC East on lock right now. But yes, I think if you have a veteran that you feel comfortable with, I'm fine with it, right? If Kirk Cousins wows them and he's healthy and you can get good starting ball from him, but you still don't have your future. You don't have your franchise. And it's just when you're at 2, I look at it like this: Tennessee, Giants, and Browns. When you're top 3 and you're in a position to get a potential franchise quarterback, I think Cam Moore and Shedeur both can be franchise guys. it's just very risky to kick the can down the road and hope that you're in this position again. Because if you're in this position again next year, probably somebody's fired, like in the front office, the coaching staff. It's a whole new regime potentially. So I think you go ahead and pick your quarterback, build around them throughout the draft, and go and try and compete in this division that you know is going to be a black and blue division at the end of the day.
Okay, Damian, you think Shedeur is a franchise quarterback worthy of the number 3 pick, right?
Yes, sir.
There are probably, fair to say, scouts in the NFL who disagree with you. Fair?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you do if you're one of those scouts? What if the Browns have scouts who say Shedeur is not the guy? What do you do?
As a general manager,
because that's where I keep going back to is you pay these people for their. I don't care what other team. I don't care what the Falcons think. I don't care what the Steelers think. I'm paying you, and you're telling me he's not good enough. So what do we do? And that because I think that there's a lot of teams that feel that way, and that's why I can't wrap my head around. Well, you need a quarterback. You take a quarterback. But if the building doesn't believe in the guy, how can you possibly take that guy? Now, if you believe in him, you run up to the podium, write his name down on the card, and you go. But if you don't, that's where I keep going back. Like that's where I get stuck.
No, and that's a fair point. From the scouts I've talked to, a lot of, and every team is ran a little differently, but like typically once the end of the cycle, from what I was told, is that they watch film together. So it's like if I'm the GM in this particular situation, Andrew Berry, I'm the head coach, Kevin Stefanski, that scout. Or if it's a couple, they say, hey, we don't really know if we believe in this guy. All right, let's watch the tape together. Yeah. Point out to me where you think, because it's just like basketball, right? It's make or miss league. So if you want it to be a situation where what can we mitigate? What does he have that we can't coach him on, and what can we coach him on, right? If you're talking about, hey, getting the ball out a little bit quicker, stop drifting in the pocket, things of that nature. Yeah, you go back to Jackson, when he was at Jackson State at the HBCU, he didn't do those things. He got behind that Colorado offensive line, and he started running for his life, and he got very undisciplined behind that line of scrimmage. You can correct that. You're like, hey, our front four, our front five are fine. They're going to protect you. You instill that confidence in him into your offensive line. I think that's going to be the main thing is, how do they have that conversation prior to the draft to say, listen, you sure this is a guy we can pass up on that we can wait for next year, or maybe wait to day 2 and look at a Will Howard or a Tyler Shuck with 3 regular season ending injuries in his career? It's all about risk assessment. What's the biggest risk? Passing on the quarterback at 2, taking the Abdul Carter that you know is going to have an impact, then get to day 2, and you're like, yeah, this quarterback pool is not what we want it to be. It's a big risk assessment situation for them.
Damon, one thing you said I want to circle back on, which I thought made perfect sense. You said that you were confused by the Kenny Pickett pick. I was. A lot of people were. The analogy you used was you're in a division that has Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. Like, how in the world can you possibly think that you're going to compete with Kenny Pickett? The reason I like the Abdul Carter argument is because you're in a division with Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. Kenny Pickett never stepped foot on a field with Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow at the same time. They're not playing against one another. The way you neutralize these incredible quarterbacks, both of whom one can really use his legs, is on the defensive front. I think it's the second biggest position in sports. If the quarterback is the biggest need, a player to neutralize the quarterback is the second biggest need. We've already got one of the best, if not the best. If you add to that arsenal, now you make it more difficult on Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow to be effective against your defense. That's why I love the Abdul Carter piece of this.
I'm not mad at that at all, because also you drafted Michael Hall out of Ohio State on day 2 last year. I loved him coming out. Saw him at the Senior Bowl. His tape was outstanding overall. And I think this is a guy that if you do add Abdul Carter with Myles Garrett and Michael Hall, you have like essentially almost 3 defensive ends in terms of pass rush ability, where I believe in I want to condense and close all 4 quadrants of the pocket on the quarterback. I want to close each door, especially when you talked about Lamar Jackson, where hey, it doesn't matter if you can't get interior pressure, he's going to step up and he's going to get out. If you get interior pressure but you have no edge contained, he's going to get around.
Right.
You got to be able to close all 4 doors. So I'm with you. That's going to be probably one of the biggest conversations when they're on the clock. They get 10 minutes. They're probably going to use a full thing to have to talk themselves through that. Do we go with the quarterback to where we say, hey, we have a good defense already. We need to score points. We need to put out a competent passing attack. Or do we go with the absolute monster off the edge with the first step quickness, the bend, the elusiveness to get around and get to the quarterback? It's going to be a very fascinating thing. To me, the draft starts at 2 with the Cleveland Browns.
Boy, I hope you're wrong about one thing. I hope that they still haven't made up their mind when the clock's ticking. Oh, my God in heaven.
I hope they're having those.
I hope by the time
all
the
those
clock's
conversations
ticking,
over the next month.
I hope by the time the clock's ticking down, they know.
Yeah, I do too. But hey, you know the Browns. One other piece as we say goodbye to Damian. And Damian, thanks. Great stuff. We love to have you on.
No problem.
The interesting thing about this is there's still one piece to the puzzle we don't know, and that's the Kirk Cousins piece. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about him in our next topic. Damian, thanks, man. Enjoy the draft. We'll talk soon.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
Check out Damian Parsons on Twitter. He also hosts the Locked On NFL Draft podcast. Very well, very educated. Make sure y'all check it out.
Great knowledge.
Quick read. We'll get into the Kirk Cousins stuff. But Monarch Money is a proud sponsor of this show. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it is easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center where you can track down all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use promo code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. Guys, if you haven't seen the pictures, Steve, you can take tagboard full here, but Kirk Cousins was in Cleveland yesterday. It has been confirmed. He was first spotted at the Chipotle in Westlake. We did some reverse Google imaging to confirm that was the Chipotle in Westlake. Kirk Cousins then responded to this tweet, telling everyone his Chipotle order, salad with double chicken, never fails me.
It's a good call.
Ian Rappaport then took this tweet, confirmed with Kirk Cousins that he was in Chipotle in Westlake. After his stop at Chipotle, he stopped over by City Barbecue in Avon. Maybe he was hanging out with Jason Lloyd. Maybe he wasn't. Who knows? But he was on the West Side tour yesterday. And, Jason, you have some information on maybe what Kirk was doing, but it doesn't appear to be he was meeting with the Browns.
Well, I learned a valuable lesson. First of all, the summer LeBron came back, I learned a really valuable lesson because Dan flew down to Miami to meet with LeBron and patch that relationship up. And
was that when everyone was chasing his tail number?
Yes, when everyone was chasing the plane. And I said, guys, he's got strip malls down there. Like, there's 100 different reasons why he would be down there. I don't think it has anything to do with this. And then, lo and behold, that's exactly what it was. What are the odds that Kirk Cousins is in freaking Cleveland? Like, we got from both sides yesterday, it has nothing to do with the NFL.
You understand.
Which is why I led with the Dan plane.
Yes.
Because
they can't talk.
Of course. But here's the part that's important. So both from Cousins' side and from the Browns' side, yeah, he was here, but it had nothing to do with NFL matters. So, okay. Yes, he's under contract still to the Falcons. The Browns' top decision makers were not here yesterday. They were in State College. So that can throw cold water on, well, he was here meeting with the Browns. Well, he wasn't meeting with the Browns because the Browns weren't here.
Right.
The Browns were in Pennsylvania having dinner with Abdul Carter. Why was he here? Man, I don't know. I learned a long time ago not to make assumptions.
Either way.
Yeah,
that's
safe.
So,
yes, he was here. No, it was not in any sort of official capacity with the Browns.
He's looking for houses?
He's going to move in next to Bill Cowher in Strongsville.
John Breach of CBS just moved to column 7 minutes ago. And in the column, I couldn't read the whole thing because we were on with Damian, but I skimmed through it. He says, both sides say it was NFL related. He didn't make this point. They can't say anything but.
Right. Mm-hmm.
They can't. The Browns can't say, oh, yeah, we were in to kick the tires on him.
Right.
Or Kirk can't say, hey, I was here to talk to the Browns about maybe. But the point that John makes in his piece, and he brings up looking for a house, and I'm not saying that's what he was doing. We're trying to find out why would Kirk Cousins be in Cleveland, Ohio? Like, the Cleveland Clinic's here.
That was the point I made yesterday.
Maybe he's getting something, the Achilles looked at. Who knows? I don't know. It seems way too coincidental to me. So what I've learned in my 38 years is a lot of times where there's smoke, there's an inferno.
Yeah.
However, sometimes there is smoke and it's just smoke. It never develops. What John says in his piece is Kirk clearly wants out of Atlanta. It's not expected for him to put the full court press on a trade until April, which, after the draft.
Yeah.
I think if you're the Browns and you're going to do something, you need to know if that move is happening before the draft.
Could he accidentally, now I don't know if this is a thing, can you do a physical that the league doesn't know about?
You could do a lot of things the league doesn't know about.
Like, hey, we want to know how that Achilles is doing. Could you go to the Cleveland Clinic and get a physical and just tell us the results?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And it has happened.
Okay.
So, yes.
And there is a Cleveland Clinic facility in Avon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just for
Which, by the way, he had lunch and dinner.
Yeah, like
on the west side.
Yeah, what was you doing?
And he did, and he's not hiding it. Like, he's posting for pictures. He's tweeting at fans.
That was the thing that made me laugh. There are a million ways. Now, Kirk Cousins stands out, especially after his role in the documentary. I think everybody now knows Kirk Cousins a lot more than they did. And you like that. He's a recognizable character. And in Cleveland, he would stand out. But if one wanted to come to Cleveland, Ohio, and blend in, there are a million ways to do that.
Hats and sunglasses work well.
He so wanted everyone to know he was in Cleveland, he responded to a tweet that could have been fake to confirm to everyone, oh, hell yeah, I'm in Cleveland, Atlanta.
And he ate dinner. You don't get lunch. And listen, people don't, especially guys on the move, y'all be in airports all the time, right?
Yeah.
You gonna maybe get you some lunch, and then that dinner is, I'm gonna either catch something at the hotel or sit down.
I'm Uber eating everything. I don't want to go out.
Right. Yep.
I don't want anyone to see me. I want to stay in my hotel room.
2 times?
And he went out twice. And that's right. Just in case everybody in Atlanta and everywhere else didn't see that I went to Chipotle.
I'm going to City Barbecue.
Now I'm going to City Barbecue. And I damn well might show up at the Cavs game tonight.
Hey, anybody want a picture? Come here. Come here.
Hey, you're going to tweet this, right? Handle me.
Give me one of the blue jerseys. The baby blue one.
I'm surprised he wasn't courtside at the Cavs. I really am.
I was looking.
I thought he would be there last night. I told some friends, I go, how much you want to bet? He ends up on the Jumbotron.
Oh, man.
Because think about what reaction that would have elicited.
Right in Myles Garrett's seats, right in the front.
Yes.
With Myles.
Yeah.
That would have been the
With Myles. You talk about the rumor mill catching on fire.
Would that be illegal?
No. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's just two dudes
He's
hanging out.
patronizing with his buddy.
Two dudes hanging out.
What he can't do
These guys
is
have
what
friends
his
on
agent
teams.
and what the Browns vehemently denied. No, we don't know. We
weren't even in the city.
And just
That's a perfect
because
alibi.
all of the decision makers for the Browns were out of town,
Yeah.
it could have been discussed in advance. Look, we're all going to be gone on Wednesday or Thursday.
Yep.
So you need to come in on Thursday so no one connects those
we have an
dots.
alibi.
So we have an alibi.
We got super chats to wrap up today's show.
Kirk's coming to Cleveland.
I want to read them all first because they're all related to the LeBron Sanders conversation. I'll read them all. And
good. Did you do a poll or no?
We did. 68% right now said a Super Bowl would be bigger than the Cavs championship. But we got a bunch of super chats all related to that, so let me run through all of them at once, then we can react after. Brody's bottom line says, so Jason, LeBron won the championship all by himself? Your fanboy's coming out.
They don't win it without LeBron.
Boss Crow says, Jason, 100, 100, 100. LeBron's championship was historic. Salvatore the 216 said, Jason, preach. LeBron's been taken for granted.
He has.
Boss
That's
Crow
true.
also says, LeBron after title Cleveland, this one's for you. Brody says, so Kyrie's 27 points in the finals didn't help?
Of course it helped.
Salvatore the 216 says, if I led the Browns, let me just read them all because then you can read them all at once.
All right.
If the Browns, if I led the Browns to a Super Bowl win, it'd be the biggest thing in Cleveland history. Browns football just hits different no matter what. Boss Crow, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, says, shame Cleveland trolls LeBron hate all he has done. I'll read it one more time. Shame Cleveland trolls LeBron hate all he has done.
It's a shame Cleveland trolls.
It's a shame
for all
Cleveland
he's
trolls
done.
LeBron for all he has done.
Yeah.
Okay. Hakeem Labanga says, as unique and special as the Cavs championship was, Cleveland will always be a Browns town. The Browns bring out something different in Cleveland.
Not arguing that.
Divergent XXX says, which of the remaining free agent receivers should the Browns sign? We'll get to that in one sec. Chief Brian K says, Jason, there's no such thing as very unique. You're a writer. You should know that. It means one of a kind or something is either unique or it's not.
Did I say very unique?
I think you did.
Maybe, but we had qualifiers all the time.
And then
I mean,
Divergent
everybody's an English
XXX
teacher.
Right.
I hate
says,
that.
G got his chubs on from Happy Gilmore swag. All right, so Jason, you could reply to all the people that say
Of course,
you're not giving Kyrie credit.
Of course, LeBron didn't do it himself. Kyrie hit the biggest shot in franchise history.
Yeah.
Like, they don't win it without Kyrie. They sure as hell don't. They don't even get there without LeBron. What did Kyrie do for 4 years before
Yeah,
LeBron
we saw
came
what
back?
it looked like in
Nothing.
Cleveland without LeBron, but with Kyrie.
You forget about the block. Go look at the scientific data behind the block
the
on
track
Iguodala.
down.
Yeah,
Just the chase down itself.
block. It's
unreal.
unbelievable.
Not to mention that he went to he stepped in and he went to the finals 4 years in a row.
8 years in a row.
Like that's,
4 in Miami and 4
like,
years.
that's
One thing
wild.
that's interesting to me is when I set up when I last saw the data, I used to see it every year. The last year I saw it was 2017, and I'd said that the Browns were plus 34 when it came to fans in Cleveland self-identifying as diehards. So that number was 34 points higher than what the Cavs were. So Browns to Cavs. Our poll now shows there's a 36-point difference. Browns to Cavs, which makes sense because in 2017, the Cavs probably had a lot more stature with fans in Cleveland because of what they were doing and because of where the Browns were.
Well, I'll maintain what I've said for a while. The Browns have lost a generation of fans. And
Yes.
you may not know it now.
I know.
You may not feel it now. Wait 10 or 15 years. If this continues, wait and see what that stadium looks like 10 or 15 years from
wait
now.
5 years when they're asking $800 a ticket.
Well, there's that too. Yeah.
That's not going to go over
Yeah.
well. See you on WKYC. If you don't have the app, download it. WKYC Plus. We'll see you over on Channel 3 in 4 minutes.